So welcome back to the Keep Productive YouTube channel. Today's video I'm passing over to August Bradley. Backed by popular demand, August came on and dived into all about how he organizes his Notion, and it was one of the most popular videos about Notion for a while on our channel. So it is with great pleasure to have him back to dive specifically into how he goes about doing a bullet journal and planner inside of Notion. He's going to show you his methodology in terms of capturing habits, capturing data, and also really analyzing every single day that goes by diving into topics like gratitude, big wins, and lots more life data like this. I think you'll find this one thoroughly useful, and it's definitely something you can apply to your own Notion accounts. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to August. Please do make sure you subscribe to him over here on YouTube. I think you will thoroughly benefit from his channel, and it is one of the best Notion channels out there. So please do check that out and enjoy today's video.
Hi everyone, I'm August Bradley and I run a YouTube channel all about building a life operating system in Notion. The whole system is emphasizing focus and alignment. Focus on the things that matter on any given hour or day, lets you zero in and really get things done, and alignment so that you know that the things you're working on hour by hour, day by day, are the right things and that they align with your high level aspirations and goals and visions and guiding principles. So we bring this whole level of alignment from the high level to the hour by hour execution and tie it together so that you can be confident that things you're doing are the things that matter most and you're getting them done and you're moving forward in your life. A key part of that whole process is the startup in the morning and the wind down at the end of the day. And what I'm going to share with you today is my bullet planner that lets us get that done consistently and very effectively each morning and at the end of each day. And you get a clearer understanding of what's working and what's not. But before we get into that, I just wanted to thank Francesco. I've been a huge fan of the Keep Productive channel for a very long time, so it's awesome to be here creating a video for the channel. Now, let's dive in. So this is the database. I call it the Life Data and Habit Tracking Database. This stands on its own, though it also plugs very nicely into a more comprehensive life operating system. It does two things. One is it tracks the data day by day that I want to measure, that I want to see if it's moving towards or away from my goals, gives me a sense of progress. The second thing is the bullet journal or the bullet planner, which is what we're going to focus on today. But this is the top level table view of this. So if we look at it, these are some sample entries. This is just a demo. We have several days entered here. Typically I'll have a running total. So the filter will be such that it'll cap it at 30 days and we have a running 30-day total in terms of the calculations across the bottom. But the key part here I want to focus on is what happens when we get inside them. So each day we'll add a new one. So today is actually July 27th. So this is a representative day. Now this has already been entered today. So the data for the database properties has already been entered, which I think is helpful because it shows you what it looks like. In the morning, I'll enter the data that is relevant for my morning startup. That's the stuff that would be sleep tracking, weight, biometrics that are just relevant. And I enter all the stats in the morning. Throughout the day, I'll be doing the habit tracker, which tends to be the checkboxes. And then that, of course, gives us a nice view over time of how consistently we've been performing the different things we've defined as the habits we want to form. And then ultimately, there's the end of the day wind down. But this template at the bottom is what really makes it work for me because it walks me through the morning startup and the end of day wind down. Now, this is a template within the database, and this entire database is available for you guys if you're interested as a template. It's part of my premium template pack. All my templates come together and you can duplicate the ones you want. I'll show you at the end how to do that. So that's available if that's of interest. But as we get into it, we open up the whole page and I'll start each morning right here with the morning startup. Now, if you do a more traditional journal or you like to do morning pages, this is a great space for that right up here. I've put a block here just to put a marker for it. If not, you can just delete this from the template. But I find the real power starts here. So the morning startup, so I'll start with the gratitude. Now, most people recommend you list 3 items you're grateful for, but I think it's really important just to do 1. When you do 1, you own it, you internalize it, and you really focus on it. When you're doing 3, I find you're just trying to complete the list. It's just a checklist, and each of them loses a lot of their power. But if you really embrace 1, I find it's a lot more effective. The only rule is you can't repeat. So as you go, you have to come up with new ones. So you can start with the obvious ones, and then you move on to ones where you have to dig a little deeper, or you have to get a lot more specific. And that's really helpful, though, because that frames your state of mind as you go through the rest of this and as you go through the day. But then the most important question is this one. What would make today great? List 1 to 3 items, no more than 3, but 1 or 2 is fine, that would make today awesome. If you get nothing else done but these 1, 2, or 3 things, then today is a success. And you lay these out very explicitly right up front. You just list them out right here. And that sets the hurdle, what you need to clear to make today a success. The next is the not to-do list. Now, the not to-do list is often as important or more important than the to-do list because we know the things that are pulling us off track. We particularly know the things that have been troublesome the last few days. So right here, we call them out. We're very deliberate and intentional about them. We identify them explicitly. These are the things that have been problematic and hurting my effectiveness the last few days. And I'm just going to name them right here. 1, 2, 3 things, 4, 5 if necessary. The things that have been consistently derailing me yesterday, the day before, and you just know that these are lurking and potential threats to you completing the things that would make today awesome. So you just want to identify the problems and just say explicitly, these are not going to be a problem. I am not going to do these things today. And that lets you zero in and more effectively complete the 1, 2, or 3 things that you need to get done today to make today a success. Then we get down here to mindset. And there are 2 elements to this. I highly recommend you implement some version of this because it really changes the way you execute your day. First is the actual mindset exercise. And Notion is perfect for this. You develop a whole page in Notion. I call it the Mindset and Identity Sculpting page. And you lay out all the insights and wisdom that you come across that you want to remember, that you want to internalize, because we come across a lot of great insight, quotes, phrases, passages, ideas that we want to become a part of our lives. We see the power of them, the wisdom of them. They're really important things to embed and to work into the way we execute our lives, but we read them, we save them somewhere, and then we forget about them. We drift away from them very quickly. So I put all of those most powerful insights, the things that I really want to incorporate into my life, that I want to shape my life, want to shape who I become, I put those all into a page. I organize them by section, so they're different categories. So you start laying them out, all these quotes and insights, and as you start getting a longer and longer list, you'll see them sort of falling into different categories. So you then start putting in category headers, and you lay them out in different sections. So when you get to this point of the morning startup routine, you're going to have a link right here that's going to take you to that page, and you're going to pick a small section of the page to review. It could be 2 or 3 bullet points, it could be 10 bullet points. You're going to pick a section somewhere on the page. Whatever you feel like diving into that day is fine, wherever your impulse takes you. But find a part that sounds particularly interesting or addresses an area of your life that you've been struggling with, and just dive into it and refresh yourself on 2 to 3, maybe 10, 15 bullet points. Spend either 2 or 3 minutes or 5 or 6 minutes, depending on how much time you have or how interested you are in really exploring those ideas more fully. And that's going to keep these ideas fresh in your mind, topical. As you go through these over and over again, you're going to have spaced repetition that internalizes them. You're going to memorize them. You're going to learn them over time. And they're going to become a part of your life, which isn't going to happen if you just save them in Evernote and never look at them again. So this makes the ones that you really want to help shape who you are and who you're becoming present and reoccurring. You come across them frequently because you have this mindset stop in your morning routine. And this could be as simple as 2 or 3 minutes looking at 4 or 5 bullet points. It's that simple. Don't make it hard. If you make it hard, you won't do it. But if you keep it simple, you'll do it on a regular basis. And by doing it a little bit every day, it's going to have a huge impact over time. Similarly, I have a visualization exercise that's listed right here. So right after doing the mindset review, you'll do a visualization practice, which again, keep it very short and simple. This could be as short as 2 minutes. It could be up to 5 minutes. So 2 to 5 minutes, close your eyes and visualize yourself going through your day perfectly, doing exactly what you planned. And as we're going to get to a little bit later, you should be planning your day the night before. So you have a clear layout in your action items for the day of what you're going to do that day. So now you close your eyes for 2 minutes, 4 minutes, and you visualize yourself walking through the day, executing flawlessly on each of those items that you want to accomplish. But not just the items themselves, the build up to them, what you're going to do when you finish the morning startup between then and the point you start to do your first priority. So you want to really walk yourself through the day up to the point of starting and diving into the first project. Then you want to visualize the transitions between the projects, how you finish, how you're going to finish at the scheduled time. You're going to then take a break. You're going to walk around. You're going to get a drink. You're going to then come back and restart. You want to visualize the transitions because transitions are frequently a place where we get lost, where our days get derailed. So you're going to map into this visualization when you check your email, when you walk around, when you get lunch, when you do anything that's expected throughout the day, you're going to visualize it. So you walk yourself through the whole day, executing perfectly, starting when you plan to start, finishing when you plan to finish, and then transitioning to the next one all through the day. If you have a difficult challenge coming up today or tomorrow, you might visualize yourself executing on that perfectly. If you have a big meeting, a big sales pitch, you have a big presentation, you can visualize yourself doing that, and that's going to help you implement on that as well. What you're doing here is you're building mental models, and these mental models will be a guide as you go through your day or as you execute any particularly challenging part of either the day or a big task ahead. They will give you the sense that you've done this before, even if you haven't done it before, because you've walked through it. You've tried to really internalize the sensation of having experienced it. And that gives you sort of a default path as you go into something, even something new. It feels like there are guardrails sort of guiding you down this path that you visualized. So it helps you facilitate the ideal execution. And it becomes a super valuable tool for anything upcoming that is challenging or has in some way might be difficult to maintain. By doing this, even for mundane things like a typical day, it helps you execute as planned. And then we finish the morning routine, and then you dive into your first priority. Now, some people like to do their writing at this point after the morning startup, in which case you could just drag this block down there. Nothing wrong with that. Just place that morning pages or journaling segment wherever you want it in the day, but put it all sequentially. The whole value of this is that it's all in order, and you just go through it step by step. And then at the end of the day, when you're winding down your day at your office or your desk, or even at home when you first get back, before you do the final wind down before going to sleep, you'll want to do the end of day wrap up. And the way we do this is we have this table right here. Now, this is a slice, a single day slice, filtered for today. Date is today. So any day at which you look at this table, it's going to have the single row for that particular day. Today is the 27th, so that's the row we see here. So this is very self-referential. This is the entire page that we're in listed as a table row by itself. So anything that we have checked off through the day, and I put this same view right here in my daily priority action list. So as I'm going through the day, I'm checking off the habits that I want to be sure I complete each day as I go through the day. At the end of the day, I come here, and anything I haven't checked off, sometimes you forget, I've got a reminder here to check off the ones that I need to check off. Or in some cases, it might be a reminder to do it. If I haven't gotten to it, it's one last opportunity for me to do one of the habits that I've identified for myself. But typically, I will have checked them off, and it's just an opportunity to make sure I cover all of them. And then I will plan tomorrow. So planning tomorrow the night before is a key part of having a really effective day the next day. And that's another item in my habit tracker. And once I plan tomorrow, I will check that off as well. Now notice as I check this off, it's also checking off the same box up here. If that's unchecked, then this is unchecked. If that's checked, then this is checked. So these are the same property fields we have up here, but by embedding them in this template down here, I get to go through them in order in the sequence that I like to do my morning startup and my daily wind down. So I'm going through them in order here. This is a view of the sequence that I typically do them throughout the day. And then I get to, over here, the end of day items that I always do only at the end of the day. So these will not have been completed. I'll rate my diet on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being best and 5 being worst, just my best subjective estimate, so that over time I can track those numbers day after day and see how consistent I've been or whether they're trending in problematic directions. And then, very importantly, at the end of the day, I'll add 2 percentage ratings. One is the percent of the day that I spent doing the things that I had intended to spend time on. So here I put a 65% rating. So 65% of my time on this day, I was doing the things that I had planned to do. Now, don't beat yourself up over this because nobody gets 100% on this. If you're getting 75, 80%, that's pretty good. If you're doing 70% consistently day after day of spending time on the things you planned, that is really going to add up, and that's going to deliver a lot of really powerful results for you. And at the same time, if you have a really low number someday, that happens. That's totally fine. Things get derailed, surprises come up, it pulls you off from what you had planned to spend time on. That's totally cool. So if you get a 40, if you get a 20, if you get a 0, that happens. The problem is if you're getting numbers under 50% consistently, day after day, then you know something's wrong, and then you need to start asking yourself some tougher questions. You want to typically have this in the 70, 80, 90 is great, of course, percent range for most days. And that's doable if you're planning ahead properly. If you tend to have a lot of surprises come up, say you have a boss at work and you don't have total control over your day, plan in time to accommodate requests that come in through the day. And then you have a segment of the day or a couple segments where you can actually have planned to execute things that come up unexpectedly. And then that counts as your planned time. So you want to factor in a realistic assessment of your typical day. And I'll do this typically just on weekdays. So Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, I give myself a little more slack on the weekends. And the second one is the percent of things I completed each day that I had intended to complete. So the first one is percent of time I spent doing things I had planned to spend time doing. And the second one is percent of results or outcomes or completions that I had intended to complete that day. And both of those are very revealing numbers, particularly when you start looking at them over time. And then all these numbers across all this can roll up into my weekly and monthly reviews automatically. So that makes it really nice to have all this data as I assess my performance for the week. And then down here under that, I list today's wins. No matter what, list some successes for the day. It makes such a difference. Now, ideally, these wins down here will be what you listed up here for the question, what would make today great? You know, in an ideal day, the 1, 2, or 3 things up here will be down here in today's wins. And if that happens, then today was a success because that is the definition you set out at the beginning of the day for a successful day that day. Now, if you don't get any of them done, don't beat yourself up. Just resolve to do better tomorrow on this particular issue and list some things that you did get done because you almost always got something worthwhile done. List it because it's so easy to focus on what we didn't do, what we came up short on. That's typically blaring at the front of our minds and we forget all the little things we did do. So at least list a few things that you did do, make them visible, realize that day after day you are accomplishing some things, even if you're not getting your big goals done. But if you're consistently not getting the big goals done, ask yourself some tough questions. Why is that? And then put processes and systems in place to increase the percentage of time that you are completing these things you identify at the beginning as the top priorities. And then finally, the last item is similarly an embedded table, but it's just one item. After you've gone through today's wins, you've assessed and done the wind down and your rating on how successful the day was, list 1, 2, or 3 things, the things that if you had done this, the results would have been better today. And so tomorrow you can think about, these are the things that I need to improve based on how things went yesterday. And right here, it's a single slice filter. Date is today, and it's just going to list the date, and it's going to give you this line here to type in whatever you want. 1, 2, 3 items, whatever you could have done better to make today more of a success, you're going to list here. And then very importantly, these are also going to roll up into your weekly and monthly reviews. So that's going to be very revealing in terms of what's consistently coming up on your daily improvements list. And once again, as you fill this in, it's actually adding it right here as well, but this lets you do it in sequence in the workspace down here. And once that's done, you're going to be able to look back over weeks and months and see all this data streaming in a way that's easy to see where it's trending, what's working, what's not working, where you need to apply more effort and perhaps apply more systems to change the behaviors and better shape the habits. So all of this is available on my premium template pack. It's the template number 2, life data and habit tracking right here. Once you get access to that, the link below will take you to the place to sign up and access this premium template pack. There's also a template for daily action, projects, and lots of other stuff. So that's it. That's how I start each day and wind down at the end of each day. You, of course, can add things to it that you'd like to work into your startup routine and your wind down routine, but the key is to be very deliberate in terms of setting out what you want to accomplish each day, identify the problems, commit to avoiding the not to-dos that have been problematic the last few days. Set your mind in a framework where you're primed to execute perfectly on the day, and then go to it, attack it. At the end of the day, you assess what worked, what didn't work, and you make notes so that you can learn from that over time. By doing this day after day, you're going to see small improvements. Not every day is going to be an improvement, but you're going to see consistent improvements over time, and you're going to learn where the problems are occurring, and you're going to be able to address them more directly. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks, Francesco, for the opportunity to join you and the entire Keep Productive community over here. I'm also very active in Francesco's Notion Made Simple Facebook group, so that's a great place to follow up, and we can have more discussion about this if that's of interest. Thanks.